Okay, guys and girls, let me just sort some lighting out. Hang on. Alrighty then. So today's video, I'm going to be speaking about the ridiculous fallacy that love emanates from the heart. Now, I have never been an advocate of all this fluffy nonsense that's out there. And whenever we listen to videos, and I'm sure we've all come upon them at some stage, whereby we've got, soft and gentle people, and invariably they're all middle aged, and they're sitting in nice homes, and they're talking about loving and, living from the heart. And, we're moving into a new period and a new era where humanity is going to be living from the heart. And oh, goodness me, you look at these people and, well, you just want to reach for your axe, don't you, really? I do. I do. These people are absolutely delusional. And just as delusional as, religious people are, thinking that, Jesus or Muhammad or Allah or Yahweh or whatever's going to be saving them. And they're all going to be living happily ever after in heaven or in paradise. It's just, goodness me, people. I'm still absolutely astonished at the stupidity of the human being. And I believe that we are still in a very, very evolutionary period. And for those of us who read books, which is very, very few these days, well, some of you may have read some of the books which have stated quite clearly that this is the case. And I've been banging on about the power and necessity of reading ever since I have been doing YouTube videos, because you will not get the depth of any particular subject via floating around YouTube. Why? Because people who have read the books, then they will often try and summarize what they have read into an hours long video when they have actually taken all of their lives 20, 30, 40 years of educating themselves, reading most every day, and they would have read thousands of books and they've collated all this information. And so then they, I don't know, set up a business or they try to promote their books by producing videos, which they touch very, very superficially on certain subject matter. And we've got these people like Joe Rogan, and we've got um, varying podcast hosts, Danny Jones and people like that, and they have all these guests on. What's it all about? Posing an odd question here and there and getting, a superficial answer. What is that at the end of the day? It's no more than entertainment. It simply doesn't give you any knowledge. All it could do for the educated person is to instill in them the requirement to read the books of the author and a whole lot more if you're going to have any level of understanding about any of this stuff. Now, those of you out there who consider that you don't have to read and then you decry reading as like, oh, just because you've read books, or so you think it's in books and you think truth is in books, and well, I don't need to read books because I just know. Well, that, just look at that, people. It's so preposterous. It's so ridiculous. It's so naive. It's so fantastical. There are certain few things that we think we know via a priori knowledge. which is to say, knowledge without experience. It's kind of like, well, you feel the heat of a fire from 10 feet away. You conclude that, well, if you put your hand in the fire, then it's probably going to hurt and it's going to burn. Well, that's kind of a priori knowledge, isn't it? We don't need to have experience putting a hand in a fire before to know that. And then there's varying intuitions of higher entities, higher beings, that the cosmos is more filled and nuanced than scientists tell us. Because there's so many peculiar things that go on with the human being. And so, okay, we can have some intuition, but if we're going to have knowledge, then we have to have something which substantiates that a priori knowledge and the intuition. And in my book, I speak about the a priori knowledge and the intuitions, and comparing them, assimilating them with actual lived experience, which I have experienced mentally, consciously, and viscerally. And so, well, one conclude if there is anything called truth at all, then we may be tentatively tiptoeing around it when we have these sort of um, subjective experiences, which are coupled with what we consider to be objective experiences, which of course there isn't any, because everything happens in the subjective arena, and there's nothing that happens out there. You may think the car's driving down the road and this, that, and the other, and it's very paradoxical, but your interpretation, your knowledge, your perception of cars driving down the road happens in your brain. And so, you know, it's just an interpretation, or it's just a projection. And, there's things which are said by scientists, neuroscientists, that they say, well, look, we think that we are in charge and we've got free will and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But when your brain is being monitored, it can be absolutely proven that your brain has decided to do something long before you consciously are aware of it. And it's in lots of cases several seconds. And so the whole thing about having free will simply is all illusion. Now, um, one of the reasons I invariably can't get anyone to come to speak with me, firstly, is because people don't read books. People are not intelligent. They don't have the capacity to think in a linear way. They have a very, very poor memory. They just do not remember. They can supposedly read one book, and the next day you'll ask them questions about it and they simply won't know. They'll need reminding about everything. So basically they'll need telling the answers, and then maybe they'll agree because they feel as if like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. And it's just so ridiculous. It really is the limitations of most people's brains. And so the vast variance of memory in people is so astronomical. It really is a joke because i- basically, unless you have something categoric laid out where you need a rational application and a linear of circumstances and things which can be proven to be factual, then how can we depend on memory? Someone says like, I had this experience at this and such a time, and if you actually could retrace their footsteps, they've probably got the year wildly wrong, they've got the country or the location wildly wrong, the people that they supposedly had those experiences was wildly wrong. And goodness me, we've all had these conversations with family who we grew up with, who differ so fantastically. from one another. And, I've often said, when I used to have these conversations with my family, are we sure that we're brothers and sisters? Are we sure that we actually have spent the previous 20, 30 years with each other under the same roof and with the same parenting? Because it doesn't sound like it. You're speaking like this and you're speaking like that. And neither of those scenarios, which I supposedly was involved with, do I remember like that. My experience was something massively different to that. And so, um, yes, people, they very, very quickly will get tired of speaking with me. They'll feel intimidated, they'll feel angry, they'll feel bereft of any level of having a memory or of having any intelligence or being able to critically think. When people speak with me, they get confronted with someone who has a reasonable prowess to do all those things. And if we are looking for other people who have the reasonable prowess to do that, then we look online, don't we? And you may get to thinking that, oh, everybody's got this ability and capacity. No, because you're under a delusion, because you think everybody is being represented by these people who can actually fucking do this, who are making videos, people who do actually read thousands of books, like Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris and Yuval Noah Harari, and on and on and on. All these people that are out there that are authors that have actually wrote fucking books. Mostly they've got PhDs, so they've proven themselves to be studious, and they can fucking read and retain information. Well, they're the people that are speaking about this. And then you sitting in your armchair think, oh, everybody does the same and I can do that. You can't. And as soon as you sit before someone like me, you're confronted with it to such a harsh reality that it just devastates you. And then you feel with resentment. And how many people would come back and speak with me on subsequent occasions, having felt entirely demeaned by their own doing, because all their fiction and their fantasies just come unraveled before their very eyes. Now, some of you will know that I speak on a regular basis with Andre. And Andre is a thinking person. He rationalizes things. He does a lot of reading and he has the ability to remember and put things together and bring this and that and something else and then come up with his own hypothesis. Well, yes. So he's another one that can do this. And this is why he and I have had well over 100 conversations. And, that's very likely to go on indefinitely. But how many others come for one conversation and then just wither away because they were under the impression that they could actually hold a conversation, that they actually were clever and they actually knew lots of the things, or all the things I know. And then they come before me and they just look ridiculous, to be quite frank. And, it's difficult for me not to demean anyone in particular. And I'm not picking on anyone. If people in recent times think I'm picking on them or referring to them, I'm referring to everyone I've ever spoke to. And this is something that's not just come about due to recent conversations. It's what I've always thought. And invariably, it's always been a constant source of disappointment to me. And I realize more and more and more that the only real intelligent people out there are the ones that have actually wrote books, because they're the ones which have read thousands of books. They're the ones that have had experience themselves, and they're the ones that have collated their own ideas, and they speak about it on a daily basis. And I say to people, look, ain't no one going on stage and being subject to questioning by an interlocutor or the audience or anything like that, unless they've absolutely got a rigid foundation, or at least a foundation which was rigid enough to be able to conclude something in a book which they wrote with a hypothesis or this, that, and the other. People like Thomas Campbell. Tom Campbell. He speaks about his theory of everything, and he's got a sequence of 3 books, which he's categorically put it all down. And so, when anybody wants a conversation with him, well, they're going to be speaking about that. They're not going to be speaking to him about the skills of crochet or the art of fly fishing. No, they're all going to be directed exactly to what he has written in his books. And the people who are interviewing him, most likely have read at least some of one of the books, just enough to wing it through an interview, which is going to draw, 50,000, 100,000 people to their channel. That's all they're doing it for. Every single person out there that's doing these interviews with people that have wrote books and got hypotheses, they're just doing it for a business. And invariably, if they skip through one of their books and they've got a few questions down, then all they need to do is to speak literally for no more than 5 minutes in a whole hour. They ask a question, and then the interviewee just starts reciting once again what is written in his book. And so, I always say, look, people, just read the fucking books. That's it, simply. You don't need to listen to any cunt. And, those stupid fucking religious folk out there that go to church and listen to the pastor reciting or interpreting some bullshit from one of those scriptures, just read the fucking book yourself. And then, if you want to take it further, then you start listening to time-served scholars with their interpretation. And it'd be always wise to listen to pro-religious people and anti-religious people. So listen to the atheists who have read the fucking books as well. And I'm one such person, and you'll get a whole different angle from someone like me as you would a devout, ridiculous, self-delusional believer. Now, I've often spoke about my sister, 2 years younger than me. She's a classic example of a person who's never ever read a book in her life, and has the audacity to profess and proclaim that she doesn't need to. Because with all the books, she said to me, all the books you've read, well, you're stupid. And, I'm the most intelligent in our family. And I'm like, on what fucking basis do you say that? Because everything that comes out of your mouth is just delusional. You're just living in your own bubble fantasy world. And it's got no fucking premise or basis outside of your own fucking delusion. Because, if you think you're the most intelligent, well, you don't even know what intelligence is, do you? And so, why don't we go before a board, and then, we'd have our intelligence checked. And, if an IQ and an intelligence quotient is anything to go by, then it's going to be premised on knowledge, what you've learned, in the supposedly abstract world. So this is the thing. Mostly women have this thing about the intuition, giving them all that they need. And so now with that overview, um, uh, with all of this fucking nonsense going around, which is the new religion, you don't have to pray to Jesus, you don't have to bow to Allah, you don't have to, do any of that stuff in relation to all those religions out there. No, you just listen to people who are channeling aliens. That's what you do. You've got people, and the Palladians say this, and we're into it, and it's always the same, isn't it? You can listen to them, 20 years back, and we're coming into a new era, and everything's going to be wonderful, and we're living from the heart, and there's going to be no meanies on the earth. Everything is going to be fluffy and wonderful, and the Palladians tell us this, or the avians tell us that, yes, and they're looking over us, and they're very, very happy that we're moving into this arena. Oh, wow, how fucked up are people that they would even give that 5 seconds of their fucking time and life? Desperate motherfuckers, seriously desperate motherfuckers that just can't stand the reality of the world in which they think they're living in. The world they're living in is here, people. That's where they're living. And, some people would proclaim that they want to live from the heart. And, look, I've got to speak a bit more directly now, but it isn't anything that anyone should take derogatory. I'm just dealing with the fucking facts and the information. I'm not super protective about people's fickle emotions, or, if they think they know something, well, I'm gonna, be questioning what they think they know. And that's the whole premise of the awakened brave. He's awakened and he's brave and he's boldly going where no fucker's gone before, or very few. And so when someone sits before me and tells me that they're living from the heart, and and I'm like, well, what are you on about? Fucking what are you on about? Oh, living from the heart. No, I don't know. I don't know. So please, 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 tell me where this is premised. Give me some instantiation. Give me some evidence. Give me some fucking lived life experience where you've got very good reason to think that. Because I don't think you have got a good reason. I think you just heard it from alien communicating fucking idiots, and it sounds nice and fluffy, and it's better than being in your head, because being in your head, you start giving judgment to some people, you start thinking about your fucking tax bill, you start thinking about your rent or your mortgage overdue, you start thinking about the high prices of fucking electricity and energy. Oh, goodness me, it's not a lot of fun in the head for most people. That's why they don't fucking do it. They don't go there, do they? They're airheads. They don't fucking do it. But not only that, it's an evolutionary thing. This book that I'm reading at this moment in time, this one here, and I'm rereading it. The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind by Julian Jaynes. It's talking about one theory of the origin of consciousness. And looking back through history at what archaeologists have found, and how conscious they thought they were at any given time, premised on burial rituals or buildings or tools or this sort of thing, and so there's with the evidence, then you can have a reasonable assumption. But then when people start talking about living from the heart, and love comes from the heart, and oh, I'm feeling connected from the heart. No, you're not. You're not. You're simply not. Now, just to bring this home, and just to burst, just to obliterate, I'm throwing a fucking fire in the hole here, because I'm sick of this shit. Why am I sick of it? Well, because it's bollocks. Because it's bollocks. Everyone out there thinks that they know something, or looking for truth, and they think that they just know, and that's the way for them. And, okay, well, what you need to do. Well, you don't need to do anything, but what people like me do, we look and we suggest, yeah, maybe you're on the wrong footing, because you just live in a delusion. Okay, if you want to live a delusion, everybody's got love in them, and everybody's, at their heart, they're really fine and good people. And then when you say, well, where's the evidence for that? Oh, well, I just know. Oh, really? I think you just project that onto everyone. Because if you do that, if you project that everyone's lovely and gooey, then you feel much more comfortable in the presence of other people. Otherwise, you feel terrified. You feel insecure, because you never know what these fuckers are going to do. And so you block all that out. You block all your reasoning now, all the fucking cognition that's been developed over thousands of years. You block all that out, and you pretend that you're thinking from the heart. When you're not thinking from the heart, you're just fantasizing from the heart. Now, let me just, I put here in Google, why do some people say that their feelings of compassion emanate from the heart? Google says, people often describe feelings of compassion as emanating from the heart due to the deep historical and cultural association of the heart with emotions, affection, and love. This is a metaphor used in common language rather than a statement about the physiological origin of feelings. Here's a breakdown of why this expression is so common. And look, this is why people have to fucking read. They at least have to read the first page on Google, if not some books. Otherwise, they perpetually live in a fucking fantasy world. Historical beliefs. For thousands of years, many cultures and ancient philosophers, including Aristotle, who's supposed to be super intelligent, by the way, believed the heart was the seat of intelligence, emotion, and the soul. The brain's role in these functions was not understood until much later in history. Now, you see that that's just a naive person's, attempt at trying to work out where this shit comes from. And it's reasonable, considering that we had no neuroscience at that time, no fucking science at all, barely, 2,000 years ago in Aristotle's time. And so he was thinking, and because his heart was feeling something, he thought, well, something must be coming from the heart then. It's as good as coming from the brain. If you got a headache in your brain, well, they probably conclude something about that. Physical sensations. Strong emotions like compassion, love, excitement, or fear cause noticeably physical reactions in the chest, such as changes in the heart rate, a feeling of warmth, or fluttering. These physical sensations in and around the heart reinforce the idea that the heart is the source of these feelings. Now, that's for a baby to assume. Ladies and gentlemen, babies should assume that shit, not fucking adults. For fuck's sake. Metaphorical language. In everyday language and literature, the heart is a powerful and universally understood symbol for empathy, kindness, and moral courage. Describing compassion as coming from the heart is a powerful and poetic way of to emphasize the sincerity and depth of the feeling. Scientifically, however, all emotions, including compassion, are generated in the brain, primarily involving areas like limbic system. However, the powerful connection between brain activity and the body's physical responses makes the heart the popular symbolic home of these deep feelings. And so, who doesn't know that? Clearly, millions of people don't know that because they haven't even took the fucking time to read the first page on Google or just to ask that question. Am I being delusional? Am I just in a fantasy? And so when I was speaking with Mandy in the conversation that basically has got one comment and that comes from her, which is, what does that say about the human being? That they just don't want to engage in conversations whereby we're inspecting the ontological aspects of what it is to be. Ontology, people, it's when we look at what it is to be a human being. And I'm always doing that. And what happens? No fucker gives any response in any shape or form, whether they like the video or know anything about the video. They don't have any questions. They don't have any queries. They don't have anything to say about it, because 90 fucking percent of you are these sort of people that just fantasize about things. You don't have any knowledge at all, whether experiential or fucking learned knowledge. You just drift through life, and your everyday consciousness is absorbing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, just enough to be able to navigate from cradle to the fucking grave. When you die, you will know fuck all that's worth knowing. You've gone and done some stupid, dumbass fucking job which doesn't entail any fucking thinking at all. And, you've probably, some people maybe even they've got PhDs and they've got nice homes and this, that, and the other. But what do they really know about life? All they've done is just followed a protocol. They followed programming, and they are just simply automaton. But the thinking person steps outside of all that, and we ask why. Why this and why that? That's what thinking people do. People also ask, why do people think emotions come from the heart? The ancient Egyptians noticed that the veins and arteries, as well as many nerves, radiate towards from the heart, and concluded it was central to both reason and emotion. Later, the ancient Greeks moved responsibility for rational thought to the brain, but passion has always remained associated with the heart. Now, why do people always speak about love coming from the heart and living from the heart? Because they're still under the the assumption of people 2,000 years ago. And it sounds fluffy and it's easily relatable. You don't have to do any thinking about it. You don't have to think about it at all. You just go, I'm living from the heart and I'm living from the heart. And if my heart starts to flutter, well, that's where love comes from. It's a no brainer, if you ask me. You don't need to be a scientist or you don't need to read any books. Philosophy, that's all rubbish. I just know. I know where my love comes from. Wow. Fucking wow. I've been trying to entice intelligent people onto this platform for years, and increasingly there isn't anyone. I mean, there's a few people come, but to be fair, very very few are what I consider to be intelligent. You know, you ask people something, and they answer with 3 words. Okay, what is love? Love is a feeling. Is that it then? Is that it? Is that your fucking poetry on love, on the concept that's been bounded around for thousands of fucking years? Haven't you ever fucking heard anything more which could constitute, let's say, at least 1 minute? Okay, what is love? Over to you now. You have 60 seconds. Oh, only 60 seconds. Love is this, love is that, love, 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 love. No, no, you don't, do you? And if I asked what is hate, you wouldn't know. If I asked what is guilt, what is shame, you wouldn't know. If I asked, well, what's judgment, you wouldn't know. You've had no fucking idea about anything. And, look, people, I wouldn't be having a go at you if you weren't on my fucking channel. But seeing as my channel has been about this stuff forever, then it's logical and reasonable to assume, from my perspective, that you want to learn a little bit about this stuff, or you may have fucking learned a little bit yourselves, and you may have read the old fucking book, but nobody, except maybe one of you, has ever told me that you've read any fucking books. And albeit there's 180 of you which have purchased my book, there's only 2 of you that have had anything to say about it. You've come on just talk about some of the concepts and things in that book. The vast majority you couldn't even get through the first few fucking pages because you read a line and you've forgotten what you've read. You read a fucking paragraph, you fall asleep, or you need to masturbate, or you need to fucking pick up your knitting or do some fucking thing. You just do not have the constitution to sit down and absorb information from pages. And that's simply how most people's brains work these days. Now, this character you'll all be aware of by this time, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said, look, he wanted to go to universities because he considered that probably he would find lots of intelligent people there. But what he discovered was that in actual fact, very, very few people in these universities knew anything at all. They just didn't fucking know anything. They were full of assumptions. They were full of biases. They were full of anger, hopes, and fantasies. Real knowledge, no. I mean, who was reading the greats? Who was reading, literature from the bygone days? When you read people, look, people, here's the thing. Whenever you would read books which were printed about 100 years ago, all these authors would be quoting all the other authors of bygone or current times, because these individuals would take it upon themselves that they would have to know what the world was thinking at that particular time, and then going back through history, and they'd all be very familiar with all of the philosophies around the world and the religions and all this, because it was that absolutely fundamental and really really important to build your foundation of inner knowledge. and what it is to be a human being, from an ontological, metaphysical, psychological vantage point. But who does that these days? Very, very few. The ones that do are out there, and some of you will know them. Yuval Noah Harari, Sam Harris, and Jordan Peterson. And, David Icke obviously does it, but he'll never, ever give credit to anyone where his information comes from, because he wants to sell it all in his own books and proclaim that he's the procurer of all this information. Well, there's nothing new under the sun. He's just been prolifically reading other people's stuff. Goodness me. Does the feeling of love actually emanate from the heart? The heart itself has local neurotransmitters and sensory nerves, but it does not generate the subjective feeling of love. It responds to brain-driven signals, psychological components. Love is multidimensional and constructed by brain systems. And so, having listened to this, who's been thinking about living from the heart and listening to fucking fairies and aliens talking about, being heart centered, and who is still gonna, who is not gonna be feeling a little bit dejected? Because if you don't feel a little bit dejected and think, okay, yeah, I'm gonna change course, because this is obviously just fucking fairyland. I may as well believe in fairies. I may as well just fucking believe in this polka dotted spaghetti fucking monster as my God, who loves me, and I'm going to be with him when I die, and he's looking after me, and he's sending, love for me, and all that. Good God. What is the strongest emotion in the human heart? Love is often regarded as one of the powerful and positive emotions. It can bring joy, fulfillment, and a sense of connection. The bonds formed through love, whether romantic, platonic, or familial, can have a profound impact on a person's well-being. What is the strongest emotion of the human heart? Love. Well, you see, here you start to get conflicting information. Who put that up? A person who believed Aristotle, or people 2,000 years ago. Because all the other things we've just read absolutely categorically states that love doesn't emanate from the heart, it emanates from the brain. It's just a fucking fantasy, it's just a fiction. It's just a feeling with words attached to it. It isn't actually a thing at all. So let's see if we can go further down and what emotion is trapped in the chest? Okay, well, this will be interesting. Unprocessed or suppressed emotions can become trapped in the body, leading to chronic tension, pain, or even illness. For example, stress and anxiety are commonly linked to tightness in the neck and shoulders, while grief is often associated with sensations in the chest. Okay, so why don't people then speak about their fluffy fucking fantasy of a life, which so-called pertains to the heart? Well, the chest. What's in the chest? Well, other than fucking air, your heart's in your chest. And is your heart responsible for all these negative feelings? Well, if that is the case, then so the heart is responsible for everything, all the negative emotions and all the positive emotions. So why does anybody want to live from the heart when it's equally problematic? It doesn't make sense again. Look, I'm going to go on to something else now, people. I'm going to say this. The Buddhists have worked this out, and Jesus worked it out. Now, Jesus was saying that we have to become still. And once the heart becomes still, and this is another way in which things could be misinterpreted, but when our hearts become still and when they're just very, very slowly beating, they are doing exactly what they should do, no more, no less, just to keep the body alive. And in that calm state, well, you shouldn't be able to feel your heart unless there's something fucking wrong, because it should be so slow and just like boom, 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 boom. And so nobody can be telling me, oh, I can feel my heart. Boom, 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 boom. It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. I'm pretty sure it's a fantasy. So Jesus was saying, still your heart. And what did he mean by that? Because when you get angry, like it says here, you get trapped shit in the chest. Well, you think that's the heart. And so, you could say, well, still your lungs. And then people, they'll bang on, oh, the breath is so important. Well, yeah, we got to breathe, otherwise we fucking die. The heart has to pump blood around, otherwise we fucking die. And so it's called the cardiovascular system. And you can learn that in the first fucking class on biology in any fucking school or college. And so really, it's a no-brainer. But then you see, if you're looking for the emanation, the focal point of emotions, well, your mind then is looking for a realm in the body to allocate this to. And if you feel pain in your stomach or stress in your chest or heart beating fast, well, obviously that's where all these emotions are coming from. No, that's just the result, because that's the body's physiology trying to deal with it. This shit happens in the fucking brain. The alert is sent out to the body, Freudian fight or flight syndrome, and then the body reacts. But stupid people who don't know anything about the neurology or about psychology, they just think they know what's going on by feeling their bodies. And then obviously the love is coming from the heart, because that's what I believe, and I just, well, the aliens told me, and so I believe them. And Jesus, he was saying about love and all this. Was Jesus really going on about love? I don't think he was, to be honest, people. I mean, love thy neighbor. I mean, okay, if you say love thy neighbor, who actually can love thy neighbor? How is that possible? It's just a metaphor, isn't it? You know, if someone said, look, don't fuck around with your neighbor, don't argue with your neighbor, don't get into conflict with your neighbor, well, that makes sense, because then you wouldn't end up killing each other. But loving your neighbor, oh, I mean, well, first and foremost, I don't think there's ever been a person on the fucking planet that could ever do that. Most of us are very indifferent about our neighbours or fucking hate them. We walk out of our doors every fucking day ignoring them, don't we? And so love thy neighbour, complete crock of shit. Anyway, I banged on about this for like 41 minutes already. The whole thing about this life, people, is trying to get some rational application. We need to think. I mean, we've got minds and brains to a more or lesser degree. It's become very, very apparent to me, ever increasingly in more recent times, that the vast majority of the human race is really, really stupid. They are absolutely bereft of internal dialogues or monologues. They have no critical thinking ability. They don't read anything more than the first fucking page on Google, just as a quick reference or just a quick tweet, or that's all they want to do, just to confirm something. How many people, if you ask them, oh, what do you think the origin of the cosmos is? Google it. Oh, the Big Bang. And then that's it. They're happy with that. But what does the Big Bang mean? Nobody knows what the Big Bang means. Not a single scientist on the planet knows what that fucking means. That everything just came from nothing. It's just so preposterous and so ridiculous. It's like Terence McKenna always used to say, give me one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. Well, that's it. That's the free miracle, that everything came from nothing by magic. And it came out of nothing into something. Well, how does something come out of nothing? Good me. It goes on and on and on. Nothing stands up, people. Nothing stands up at all. And so at the end of the day, I feel for limited human beings, because if they are not, they're not strong enough. They are too suspect and subject to negative emotions overriding them, they're always going to be clutching for straws, and they run to religions because to pray for a God that's going to be loving them, well, it's nice and fluffy, isn't it? And then the modern thing, of course, now lots of people moving away from religion, and they're going into something a bit more interesting, and it's kind of like maybe a bit more believable that spaceships are coming from another constellation, and these beings, lovers, why don't they get to thinking that maybe they don't love us? Why would they love us? What's this love about? It's kind of like human beings loving ants and loving slugs. The difference in the level of intellect. Do you love all ants so endearingly, and are you always really, really careful whenever you dig in the garden not to disturb an ant colony? No, nobody gives a fuck about ants. Why do you think advanced species coming from another constellation are going to give a fuck about human beings? It's just a fantasy, people. It's a silly fucking fantasy, like all the religions that the human being has conjured up. It's preposterous beyond measure, but the vast majority of people, they can't deal with the world just being like it is, because they don't understand it. They've never stopped to think about it. They've never bothered to educate themselves about it to get any rational application. If you learn all about the intricacies of the human being, then you know why some so-called nefarious beings are doing what they do on the earth. But I would just say it's a difference in intelligence. Now, just let me finish with this. Any of you out there think the aliens are going to be fluffy and love you, and what they're going to do? They're going to come down and cuddle you, and they're going to go there, and what else are they going to do? For fuck's sake, where's the logic in that? Where's the rationale? Well, everything's going to be perfect and wonderful on planet Earth as soon as the aliens come and save us. Oh, wow. Well, even the human beings, which have 10 IQ points or maybe 20 over and above the rest of the fucking idiots, well, look what they do. They put you under a fucking yoke. They put you in bondage. They put you in shackles. They have you slaving for them for 40, 50 years of your fucking life. And they will kill you at any given moment, and they'll send you to war just to meet their ends. They don't give a fuck about you. And that supposedly is the same species. So why do you think any massively more advanced species is going to remotely give a fuck about you? They're going to come down, and if they think you're a tasty morsel, you're fucking history. And whatever this beautiful planet as resources got, they're going to be using that. And if you're in the fucking way, you better watch out. Good God, what a bunch of fucking retards. And okay, so in my subscription, I often say it's just plateaus like this, and it goes up by 2 or 3 if I put a video up which new subscribers or new people find it, and they think, oh, this is a nice video, this is a nice man, and then they'll get called cunts in the next video. This man, he's not making me feel fluffy and nice. He's not saying what I believe or I want to believe, and so they all fuck off. And so there's like 9 subscribers left over the last 2 weeks. And I look at the videos and I go, what video in there you could have, triggered this? Or what videos? And that there's nothing really, because the major fucking rants, they came before what I'm calling, the pink ape bunch of fucking imbeciles. And so what I conclude is that my videos are just vastly too intelligent. And they speak about things that people have never fucking considered, and that's it. I'm in the realm of the greatest philosophers on the fucking planet, the thinking people, the people that have got great renown on the planet at this moment in time, and they're on stage speaking this, that, and the other. That's where my mind is. That's where my intelligence is. And if I could be fucking bothered to actually write all my books down instead of just speaking it, and then if I could be bothered to hold a position and get some money to promote the book, then after time, then people would be inviting me. I can't be bothered because I don't want to, and I don't give a fuck about anybody. I'm not here. I don't have a vested interest in raising anybody from their living hell. We all come here and we're all going to deal with whatever it is we're dealing with in our own fucking way. And all this bullshit about helping people. I don't give a fuck about helping people. People are a bunch of fucking idiots. And if you did help them, then they'd never fucking respect that. They'd never reciprocate it. They just fucking take it. And then if you needed help, they just fucking walk by you, without batting a fucking eyelid. No. I've come to despise the human being for very, very good reasons. And the only way you're ever going to get over the reality of the human being being a fucking knob is if you want to build a fluffy fantasy world around you for your own protection. That's all it is. Weak people, they need this level of protection. Strong people like me, I don't need protection from these fuckers. I know exactly what they are and I'm able to deal with them as and when they fucking come, and I have all my life. And so when you look at the powers that be, they know exactly what the stupid twat in the street is, and they treat them accordingly. They just tell them a crock of shit. They just keep making promises they don't even intend to fucking keep. It's just a laughing stock. The masses are a fucking laughing stock because it's been going on forever, and they never ever fucking learn. Great. Just deal with those fuckers. And incidentally, I was listening to an interview with David Duke. Some of you know David Duke. He's a big intellect. He has a lot of experience, and he's got an enormous amount of information, and he speaks a lot of sense. What he was saying about the you-know-whos that run the world, they don't care about anyone else except themselves. And they set out from the absolute get-go, and it's even written in all their literature. And, this is why they don't want to mix their blood with the Gentiles, this, that, and the other. It's absolutely true. The you-know-whos run the fucking world. And they've got Trump in their pocket and every other fucking leader. And they just treat the knobhead in the street as just fucking a commodity, and they'll whip them into some sort of fucking subservience as long as they're able, and then when they're not, they want to get rid of them. Fucking sharpish. Anyway, I suppose a video like this it gets more response than regular intellectualizing, because regular intellectualizing, unless I stimulate your emotional state, doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't land because the intellectual thing has got no platform to land on. But when I'm speaking about something that you do know a little bit about, the you-know-whos, yeah, they're trying to control us, then you'll thumb up. Or maybe you'll put a little comment down. But what I say is say, yes, good. I'm a you-know-who. The fundamental premise of my DNA is you-know-who. And so then I'm absolutely with them. And I have no allegiance to the man in the street at all, in any shape or form. The only allegiance I have with anybody is someone who has a high level of integrity, a high level of intelligence, a high level of inner strength, and is a real proper human being. I have an allegiance with them because that's what I am. And that's how the Jews think. And so, take it from there, people.